All right, I don't know what the fuck is happening, but my streaming is not going well. Coomer Punk 2077, that's so awesome. I think I'm streaming live on YouTube. It appears I am. It says I'm upcoming. Oh, for fuck's sake. How is this upcoming? I'm fucking live. Apparently, it's my fucking day today. Let's just check Twitch and see if things are broken. Jesus, this is awesome and embarrassing all at the same time. I don't know if anyone can see anything or if I'm live or anything like that. I don't. Oh, I am. I am live on Twitch. Why? And it looks like I might be live on YouTube. Fucking hell. We'll try this. We'll see. It might just be a day where the demons are attacking rampantly, and I'm stuck with it. Yeah, it looks like I'm back to being live on YouTube, and yeah, I don't have a fucking clue. I'm real pretty though, and by that I mean I'm not real pretty. All right, I'm functioning well there on Twitch. Well, that's good. It's good that something's working out. I got a special shirt. It's not new by any stretch, but it says Sagan, but it's in the style of Slayer, so I like that. And yeah, now that I'm completely humiliated and mortified of all the technical difficulties, which started even before this happened, somehow I'm learning, but apparently not quick enough. So that's a thing. I see something else is wonky. I said play on my TV, and I fucking meant it. Oh, there we go. Now it's playing on my TV. Okay. I do that because I can't see what it's actually like. And it looks like, oh, yeah, we're good. I don't have a clue what the fuck is going on. All right. The good news is we're here. It can only get better. I've already, like I say, I hit like I set a goal of $300, and it was intended for like I have no idea if that's a reasonable goal. Back in the days where we could be out in public together, Calgary Bear Corps put on a lot of fundraisers, and Bear Clan Patrol kind of we became aware of them right around the time that COVID made all our lives explode. So like live shows aren't a thing, and as such, we kind of can't do fundraisers like that. So I was thinking about when I started doing the streaming and stuff, I was like, you know what? I should probably be able to do something, even if it's not much. So this being the first one, I was like, I'll set a goal of $300. So I'm already a third of the way there, and my transaction didn't go through. Apparently, that's how broke I am. So I will figure out what the fuck is going on. I got a brand new Visa or Mastercard, so I have a feeling like that's the problem. They sent me because I lost my card and then immediately found it after I called them, as you do. And so I got a new card. I haven't used it online yet. I did activate it. I know that much, but whew, I got some hair today. That's okay. So I'm just gonna, if anyone wants to chat about anything, that's cool. If not, I'm gonna start rambling. Oh, and I need to figure out if I can find me on here so I can see the Facebook chat. Because otherwise, Facebook chat doesn't sync up properly. Oh, and it doesn't even look like I can. So I'm gonna quickly, fuck it. Sorry, Facebook. I don't know what's going on. Bad day. So yeah, in the meantime, I did write up a handful of things that I could talk about if I needed to little prompts, little writing prompts, right? So first thing I wanted to actually talk about was on the Facebooks. I was griping this week because I noticed that both of the live streams that I did in previous had copyright, not copyright strikes, copyright warnings. And what I've done is I have used friends of mine's bands and local bands all very like no one knows who the fuck they are. But I've done things like, you know, having the local band play while I go for a smoke every, you know, hour ish. And so those sometimes get the copyright warning. When I first saw it, because this is all new to me, I was like, what the fuck? I get copyright strikes now. I'm going to get banned from YouTube. Fuck. And I did a little digging and I did a little griping and I found out that I was actually quite wrong. Gesundheit. And it turns out that I was essentially certain, like if it had been a copyright warning from the bands, I'd have been a lot more comfortable with that. But in this case, it was CD Baby and things like that that were raising the issue. Now, someone in my griping, someone I didn't know, brought up, they said, well, did you ask permission from the bands? And I thought about it, and that's actually a very valid complaint that I did not ask permission from the bands. And I think that's kind of a luxury of me being me and all this stuff. And I don't think it's good. I'm you know, let me be clear about that. So I have been a local music promoter here in Calgary for like 20 years. And I have relationships with a huge number of musicians. All of the music that I played are people that I know, have interacted with, love, all that kind of stuff. And just, can someone type something into chat? I just have this fear because of everything else going wrong that the chat is failing. I don't know if it is or not, but it's a fear. It's a legitimate fear. Anyways, so I've worked with these bands. They all kind of know, I see there's chat. And it's from Bright Sparkling Underpants, a.k.a. I Am Canadian. Good to see ya. So yeah, my griping about copyright. So the thing that I have always done is I've always, you know, been a bit of an evangelist for local music. And hey, Taylor Made Radio is now following. Thank you, Taylor. I love Taylor to pieces. And I'm going to be talking about a video that she did in a little bit. So I will include the link and all that kind of stuff. Hi, Taylor. Yeah, that'd be the day I'd give anyone shit for playing Velour, which is what I always call them, to allow any to do it for me, but that's just me. Totally agree. And this is the thing. In my mind, it was like, this isn't a thing. I'm not, you know, making money off of streaming. This is literally just, I'm going for a smoke. Might as well fill the space. And if I'm going to fill the space, might as well use local music that I want to support. And that is valid. But the argument that I didn't specifically ask permission is also valid. So this week, I actually pre-picked some songs that I'm going to play when I go for a smoke so that I got permission. Most of the songs I'm going to play are my old bands. Sorry about your luck. But I did go to a couple of other bands and get their permission. So that doesn't mean there won't be a copyright warning that comes to me at some point. CD Baby and you know, there's a variety of services that people use to try and spread their music. And that somehow, and this is the thing that really irks me about this, they somehow have the ability to get in the way of that. So like I have, for example, one of the first other than me bands that I'll be playing is my buddies in Truck. And I got specific permission from all of them. They're 100% cool. They're happy that I'm playing a song. The exact comment was like, we always did this to, you know, to just send the music out there. And I love that. And that's exactly how I approach music. I don't believe they've ever done any kind of like CD Baby type of stuff. But if they had, CD Baby, despite my having their permission, can just go, nope, that's a copyright violation. And I'm kind of like, there's nothing I can do about that. I think that's kind of shitty. And I feel, because what happens is I can make a choice. I can say I'm going to trim out the offending material, which is fine. And that's what I've done in these past things. I can mute it or I can accept it and my video is demonetized. And again, I'm not making money here. Any ad revenue that comes to from that theoretically would go to the copyright owner. And my big fear there, the reason I trimmed, is I don't actually trust CD Baby to give the bands the money. I could see them taking that money and just, yay, we made some money, and then it's frustrating and stupid. So I really, I don't trust particularly those internet streaming service and distribution companies. I think that they're mostly scum. I've always worked with, directly with people. So, Beercore has done compilations of music. We've just written contracts that would hold up in court, things like that. In this instance, though, I'm doing something different, and it was a valid consideration to say, did you ask permission? And the answer is no, I did not. So I should have. So henceforth, that's what I'm going to try and do. And then if copyright notices come up, it's not a big concern to me. I'll just trim them out. But it is what it is. Anyways, that was a thing I wanted to. Intellectual property gets stolen often, absolutely. And part of, especially when I read that comment from that person going, "Did you ask permission?" I was like, I'm technically guilty of that. Not that I'm making money, not that I'm doing blah, 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 blah. And I think that, my motivations are pretty clear as a person who's very much an evangelist of local music. I don't feel like the bands are going to be offended, but it's a valid consideration that, this is their intellectual property. I should be asking permission if I'm going to do anything with it. And most people, I think, will have no problem giving it to me. But if they did have a problem, that's something that I should, take into consideration. All right. So what do we got here? Cryptocurrency is indeed the big con, pure speculation and gambling. Oh, man. I am so not okay with cryptocurrency. Like, it's nice in that it highlights the fact that none of our currency has any value, except the currency that you donate right there to the Bear Clan Patrol, because that currency will translate into direct action helping people. But currency, because we have what's called sovereign currencies, and I'm by no means an economist, but sovereign currencies, the intent behind them, as I understand it, is to not be tied to a particular, like the gold standard, for example, and just to be valued based on the goodwill of the thing, the American dollar, for example. That, when you actually get into the details of it, that is a really weird and creepy and uncomfortable scenario. And hopefully, one that doesn't collapse and fall all over the place and make us all have a massive financial collapse. Like when the yuan got devalued was at the start of COVID, I think, and all of a sudden the entire world went like, fuck, their fake money is now worthless. What is our fake money worth? And we had real problems. Stored value shouldn't be a daily slot machine of up to 20% up or down. Crypto has no value and does nothing. It is not backed by anything. Exactly. The only thing that it does is destroy the world, because the amount of energy required in data centers to generate cryptocurrency, because it's all based on complex mathematical computations, it actually is extremely damaging to the environment to do cryptocurrency, which is bizarre, but is factually true. So I'm not a big fan of, I don't like money in general, but I certainly don't like cryptocurrency. I think it's a way to try and sidestep, and it's fueled on the Amway model of, hey, maybe if you get in early enough, maybe you'll be rich. And my experience is that when you don't, those things don't make you rich. So, fuck them all. Now, I mentioned that I was going to chat about a video Taylor did. I'm actually just copying and pasting the link into chat because I really enjoyed this, and I think especially for my Calgary viewers, hopefully that link works, but I have not had technology luck. For my Calgary viewers, this is an important thing. Taylor and Stacy, who is actually a friend of mine from high school, they sat down with Jyoti. What's the last name? I've got it written down, but I can't think of it. No, I don't. I just wrote Jyoti. So if anyone on chat wants to answer that, that'd be great. Jyoti is running for mayor, and they had the opportunity to sit and have a conversation and talk about platform and policies and that sort of stuff. And it was an excellent video. There was a bunch of stuff I could talk about, but one of the things that I found really interesting, Gondeki, I can't tell if that's an exclamation mark. This is my old eyes. I'm not a young man anymore. Jyoti Gondek, I believe is correct. So Jyoti is running for mayor. They talked about policies, they talked about platforms, and one of the things that got brought up was the concept of public hearings. And I really liked this dialogue. To sort of set the backstory a bit, the city of Calgary did a bunch of public hearings, I want to say like 6 months ago, but I'm not good at time, so... Oh, they're chatting with Leslyn Joseph tonight, running in Ward 10 for alderman, on Monday. Definitely check that out. I really want people to be aware of and involved in the local politics situation. It directly affects us, and the more informed we are, the better we all are. For example, did you know that Farkas was a creepy white supremacist? Well, I don't know if that's true, but yeah, it's true. Got to make sure to change your Facebook video to public when you're finished so it can be shared. I don't know if it's actually going on Facebook right now. I had some tech issues and things went wonky, and I literally I couldn't find it on my phone. So I don't know if I'm live on Facebook or not. But it looks like I am. Something's happening here. And I see if this is the live one, I see La Corazon is saying hi. Again, Facebook chat doesn't come in my little chat window, just YouTube and Twitch. So that's a thing. So La Corazon, I will keep looking here in case you are, I see you're sending me all kinds of hearts. But if I miss anything, it is nothing personal. It's just I have to look in two places for chat, and I'm not very smart. Le Corazon is one of the people that runs the Bear Clan Patrol. And yeah, YouTube and Twitch look okay. I think it's working. I will definitely set my video to public so that it can be shared. So that's surreal to me. Again, though, we're raising some money for the Bear Clan, and those that are watching, we're actually, I set an easy goal of $300, or at least I hope it's an easy goal. We're a third of the way there, and we've only been doing this for, I don't know, half an hour-ish. So that's awesome. Again, if I put my arm in the way you can see, it is streamlabs.com/biguglyjim/tip. You can send money directly to them through they've got a money transfer, and I believe on most services there should be a explanation of that in the description of the video, but I'm not 100% sure because everything went wonky. If not, maybe someone can put the email address in the chat. Maybe I can, because I know what the email address is, I think. You know what? I'm going to do this. I can do it from here. Bear. And I think because it's me doing it, it'll appear. Yes, this is the weird thing is my chat messages appear in here. Nobody else's. So I don't know. So you can send them money. I won't see it in my cool ticker. So ultimately it doesn't matter. It'd be cool if people said, oh, this is how much I sent. But no one needs to tell me anything. This is just, I'm trying to do what I can to help out. So anyways, back to the public hearings thing. So they were doing public hearings. I believe it was early in the COVID times, and it was around ending hate and systemic racism and things. And what was brought up by Taylor and Stacy was that it felt very, I would say, performative and also like almost assembly line in the sense that, and again, watch the video. I included in the chat. It's a great like hour and a half long conversation with a mayoral candidate, so definitely worth the watch. But the feeling, because you had a 3 minute window and it was like, hey, you know what? Everyone just show up early in the morning. Hopefully we'll get to you. I didn't see the email to directly transfer money to Bear Clan Jim. I'll type it in here and hopefully that'll work. And hopefully I didn't typo. Oh, I did typo too. Shit. Gmail.com. Okay, so use the second link because the first one calls them bearclanny.yc, which is probably not right. Hi, Fod. I see you're watching. So, yeah, you show up early and you stay, and hopefully you get 3 minutes with which to rip off the scab of all of your lived experience and pain and go, hey, here's my story and it's not acceptable and we need to do better. And then it's like, we hear you, thank you, next. So I think that's a very valid complaint about the public hearing concept. And Jody had a really good take on that, in my opinion. And she simply said, like, maybe this isn't the thing for a public hearing in the way that that a public hearing is defined in in the cities. I don't know if it's bylaws or just how cities work, but it's the wrong approach. It's the wrong way to engage and to, from the city's perspective, if you just sort of open the floodgates and you've got people who, especially at the time, they've done some things since, I believe, to make it so that they have a little bit more luxury to pull the plug on someone who decides to get up and give a fake land address, for example, which apparently happened, or making racist remarks in a thing about ending hate, because you got to be a real fucking trooper. But they're out there. But yeah, the idea of doing a different approach, what that looks like, I don't know. But I just thought that was a clever answer. I did a stream a while back about the mayoral election that's upcoming, looking at the various candidates that I was aware of. And I'm not all the way sold on any of them. Jyoti seems like probably the more progressive, viable candidate. I think we've got just a buttload of real monster trolls on the right. Farkas being, I think, the most likely to be the right side front runner. Who is, for the record, if you're not familiar, I think it's Jeremy Farkas, is, if he's not a fascist, he's really bleeding close in. It's that like really, really adjacent. And I don't mean a Nazi. I mean a fascist. A Nazi is a type of fascist, but they're not the only type. I'm not saying this guy's running around in jackboots beating up people. I'm saying a lot of his perspectives are very authoritarian, free market economy, and very anti-helping, which is certainly not a complete description of fascism, but it certainly goes a long way to get there. Nancy Barnes is watching. Hi, Nancy Barnes. Nancy Barnes is awesome, and I love her. So that's a very, very awesome thing to see you. Anyways, I thought that was a really excellent interview. I think it's fair to say that both Taylor and Stacy did a really solid job of being, asking important questions and not softballs, not hi Abby, how you doing, kiddo? Not lobbing the soft ones over the plate like in a Trump interview. This was not an easy interview, I think, for Jyoti, and she handled it well. I'm still, I'm an undecided voter and will continue to be until closer to when things are a little bit more clear. But I think for right now, it's safe to say that Jyoti is probably the most food poisoning from mom's house. This is my eldest kiddo, and I'm biting my tongue hard. I see Martin and Casey and Jeff are watching on Facebook. Hi guys. I'm trying to keep an eye on Facebook on my phone over here because Facebook chat doesn't show up in my cool whatever direction that is. That thing, flick flick. Yes. Anyways, do check out Inclusive Canada is the group that did the interview with Jyoti. And like was mentioned earlier, there is another one on Monday with, and I'm gonna have to scroll up for a second because I don't remember specifically, but from Ward 10, Leslyn Joseph running in Ward 10. So that'll be on Monday. I'm not sure of the time. If Taylor, if you're still watching, maybe pop that time in there. Either way, follow Inclusive Canada. They're a fantastic group, and their goal is to share the love and share the love. Fuck, my brain just stopped on me there. Their goal is to promote diversity and change, especially calling into question some of the areas where there are systemic problems that need to be addressed as it pertains to people of color, Indigenous people, Black people, at all. So I very much value the work they're doing, and I think they're fantastic. And Taylor has included the link to inclusivecanada.org. And if you are curious, I strongly suggest great people, great cause, awesome. And while we're shilling, I might as well once again plug, as you can see right here, streamlabs.com/biguglygym/tip. That's the number one easy way to send some money. You can also directly email transfer to bearclanyyc@gmail.com. I'm really hoping today to just make sure that we send some money their way and some love, because the work they do is vital and very important. 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Monday for Leslyn. We'll have a live coffee chats every Monday at 7 p.m. Thank you for. I love you, Taylor, and I love the way that you have evolved in the last couple of years. You leave me awed as a friend. I watch you becoming just a phenomenally different and wonderful in different ways human being. You were always wonderful, but this is really cool for me. So I 100%. I stand with Taylor McNally, and anyone that doesn't like that can just take a moment to suck my balls. It's period. I see JF is also watching. Hey, JF. Thank you guys for sharing the stream. Let's see. Oops, that won't make sense. Jim, would you let Bear Clan that ABJ equals a big ugly gym? It'll make sense later. Okay, so La Corazon, if you're still watching, if there's I think there's a email transfer that will say ABJ probably in the message. That's a reference to me, so it might be easy for you guys to go, yay, this is how much Jim sent in non-direct donations. But we're already at $100, $300 goal. There's a bar there. This part is orange. It looks a lot like a king-size cigarette, which tells you where my mind always is. Goddamn junkies. Yeah, definitely. Inclusive Canada, can't say enough about them. And like I say, Stacy was a friend of mine in high school. I was older than Stacy. I was actually closer to her sister, who I have not seen since I was in college. We wound up being in college together. Long story short, fantastic people, and it's really cool. Stacy and I had a bit of a reconnect over the Facebooks when I saw Stacy and Taylor working together, and so yeah, cool. Support everybody. Support everyone. Don't worry about supporting me, because I'm doing all right, but support all the cool people. Oh, did my Facebook just stop? Or is it just doing a thing? It still says live. My phone just was like, yeah, bang, no more. You don't want to watch this. You got better things in your life. Fucking phone. Taylor for mayor. Interestingly, Taylor, I think Taylor has a very similar perspective to what I have on the whole concept of running for mayor, and that is dislike and terror. I'm not trying to speak for you, Taylor. I know. I think it's something that's popped into your head a few times from videos you've done and stuff. But I, for one, don't need the bullshit in my life. I've commented on this before. I wouldn't be able to be this guy and still, you know, do the things I do. In what am I fucking saying? I wouldn't be able to be the person I am and still be a reasonable candidate for mayor. I wouldn't be able to have my office mohawk. I wouldn't be able to, you know, none of it. I couldn't be the dick I am and say the things I say and try to run for public office. And I don't need all of the things I've ever said in my past thrown in my face. Like, you remember the one Deborah something or other, the NDP person, won their seat, I believe, and then quit. And it was simply because there was so much anger and rage towards her for like having the audacity to have pictures on her Facebook that people didn't like. That's just fucking ridiculous. Yes, the fuck I would. Absolutely. And I'm a middle class white male, right? Like, imagine if any of my adjectives were not privileged adjectives. I'm scared to be mayor with all of my nice adjectives because I'm kind of a dick sometimes on online. This is a real problem in my mind with the way that we're doing things, because I think people who actually are passionate, excited, people who are wanting to change the city for the better are turned off from the idea of running because your whole world gets just dumped on. Mayor, a big ugly dick. It's not that big a dick. Um, that's why we're all gonna get into office, so you can change the idea that we're supposed to look like or supposed to act. I kind of don't disagree with that. Part of me thinks that, like, if we just fucking not storm the gates in like a January 6th kind of way, but like make change happen. That would be an awesome thing. Also, because Calgary/Alberta is awful. It fucking is. It fucking is. There's so many great people here, and I feel most of the time like that is a drop in the bucket of the number of people who are not so fucking awesome here. People who look for something to take offense will rather than listen to the message as common. Absolutely. I'd be a leader we didn't want, but definitely deserve. Less in a Batman way and probably more in like a Punisher way. And I don't mean that in a like cop supporty way, because anyone who wears that Punisher skull with the to support cops has never read a fucking Punisher comic book. Yeah, Kenny Country. Jason Kenney is the kind of piece of work that just, it boggles the mind. It boggles the mind that this is a person who is allowed to breathe, let alone run things. So I've been so tempted to leave, but won't run away because there's more work we need to do. Thoughts? Abby, I agree. I have, for basically my adult life, I have had times where I have seriously thought about leaving this place and finding somewhere that maybe isn't quite so ridiculous to live. But I also feel like I do good work here. I do good work for the music community when there is a music community. And I also do good work for, things like this, which is, the ultimate slacktivism. I certainly admit that. I'm not changing the world here. I'm just sort of shaking people's cages and saying, hey, you should donate some money because these people are awesome and they're doing good work. It definitely, this is a town that I think eats you up a little bit. And there's so many people here who don't even, It's not that they vote against their interests, they don't know what their interests are. It's not that they are bad people, they just don't know what good looks like. And I'm not justifying any of that. I find it despicable the way that people behave in this city. It genuinely breaks my heart when people will, make bumper stickers and be like, yeah, let's run over native people because they're protesting. Yuck. Like, how is that a fucking joke, you monster? Anyways, that's me getting a little spicy. I'm going to take my first smoke break. And what that means is we're going to have some music. As I mentioned earlier, I have actively gone to all of the people that I will be playing. Most of them are me. And honestly, I didn't go to any of my bandmates because if I can't play my own fucking songs on my stream, then I think the world is pretty dumb. So I'm going to play, in this case, the first couple songs I'm going to play are my old band, Johnny Incognito, who also contribute the intro song to the podcast, and Truck, who are buddies of mine, fantastic human beings. So Johnny Incognito, Never Home, followed by Truck performing Ben Stiller's Missing Jacket. I'll be right back, going for a smoke.
No more parties and jam. I guess I finally ran away into the sadness, where everything is just another day of something on the rabbits and the staggers out the circus. Talking so often that I can't remember things. I'm making money, but I love when I was nothing. What the hell am I? I kind of went by something. Simon was living out of something. The rats are running, but the mix one side. There never was no cheese, and now they are spinning. The lattice had to show when I saw it and go. The race is over, but we still label winning. I guess I always have a reason, showing stuff just like the rest of us. I find understood things. But here I am, man, still a success. The man who's never really know what doing good brings. Ourselves good never taking into satisfaction. And then we turn around by everything inside to fill a hole we leverage for distractions. There is no penance, there's nothing to perform, there is no ritual, my soul will not be risen. Time is slippery like sent into the storm, and now I work on the here in my little prison.
I love that fucking band. They're so good. Welcome back to me for having a smoke break. I often see people who are streamers who don't leave the house when they smoke, but I don't like my house smelling like cigarettes. So I go outside, and while I do, I play music that is local and awesome, and hopefully everyone runs out, buys all the truck things. I don't even know if you can buy truck things, but if you can, it's cool. Yeah. So once again, we're here raising some money for Bear Clan YYC. You can send tips. If I put my arm in the way, you can see the link right there, streamlabs.com/biguglygym/tip. That will allow you to donate to the stream, and then I will forward all of that money on to Bear Clan. The other option is you can mail transfer, or e-transfer via, the whole thing. It's the modern world. To bearclanyyc@gmail.com. It's not something, it doesn't matter how the money gets to them, just that the money gets to them. They're fantastic, and I just want to support the piss out of them. So please consider making a donation. I will be making a donation. I had this whole plan of like the first thing I was going to do was do a donation, and then I guess my new Visa's not cooperating, or MasterCard, so that's fun. So I will send something after, but I have to like actually move money into accounts and do things, so yay. But they are awesome, and they are worthy of our support and our love, and they're doing great work. So please do support what they're doing, however you go about doing that. If you don't trust me, send it directly to them. Yeah, so before we left, I was talking a little bit about the local political scene and stuff. I think one of the things that I kind of, one of my little writing prompts, hopefully people can engage and tell me whether I'm cool or stupid, is I wanted to talk a little bit about liberalism. And I am not a liberal. I used to think, I've described myself in many ways over the years. I used to say I was a centrist, which I don't think was ever actually true. I thought it was. I thought of the way that I approach problems being sort of, there's a balance between the human side and the fiscal side. But the thing is that that's not centrism. It's what centrism talks about, but it's not what centrism does. And so that was definitely not an accurate label. Then I referred to myself as a liberal for a long time. And that's not true, because liberals are, ineffectual. I'm assuming that you want a cigarette? Just feeding children cigarettes.
I just want to yell over your thing.
Yeah, I'm good, people. When it comes down to it, liberalism is very much a defense of the status quo, and that's not me. I'm actually a leftist, according to the 8 values political compass thing. I am actually a libertarian socialist, which some people will go, well, that doesn't make sense. Libertarian socialism, how can you be a liberal or libertarian who believes in liberty and a socialist who believes in autocratic rule? When people say that, what it means is they don't know what socialism means, and they're probably an Alberta redneck, because we have them. We have a bunch of them. Hi, Cindy. I see you're watching. Thank you for watching. Again, if you want to send money, you can either send it to this link, streamlabs.com/biguglygym/tip, or you can e-transfer it directly to bearclanyyc@gmail.com. Either way, as long as we're getting support to them. Liberals are stuck. Yes, you can be libertarian and socialist. You can also be a libertarian conservative idiot. Yes, the difference, I think, between libertarian socialism and libertarian conservatism is that libertarian socialisms believe in things like freedom, and libertarian conservatives believe in freedom specifically for themselves. That's probably not entirely fair, but it's mostly fair. I know that there are really good people who are libertarian and conservative, but the vast amount of people who identify as libertarians are really they're about small government for them, but big government for everybody else. They're about personal freedom for them, but lots of restrictions on personal freedom for other people. We live in a world that the absolutes don't work. That's actually been proven time and time again. And so we try to find like a happy middle road kind of a thing. And for me, I'm not as satisfied with the middle road anymore. I'm not really satisfied with people being victimized by systems. I think that's bad. I'm a crazy one, that's for sure. I gotta get over saying crazy. That's one of those words that I don't think of as anything, and then other people can really be hurt by. So I have to work on that. Conservative with fiscal, progressive on social. Everything else is just hard work and problems to be solved. This is libertarian. You have a left wing and you have a right wing. Dad says fly. Dad says fly. I don't understand the dad says fly part, but yeah, absolutely. I do believe you can be a libertarian conservative who is not garbage. I just think that the rise of the Tea Party created a whole lot of garbage libertarian conservatives who are not actually libertarians. They're just selfish pricks. So my challenge with liberalism is, I said earlier, they are the defense of the status quo. And liberalism is kind of about not really changing anything, progress in tiny baby steps, and like there's nothing directly wrong with that, but I think that we're in a place where we need quicker, faster, better, stronger, awesomer change, and we're not seeing it. Tired of people starting with a label left or right as the starting point. For me, the starting point is the issue. What's the right thing to do? My position may be left for some or right for others, but that's label. And that's actually pretty much exactly what I was saying when I used to describe myself as a centrist, is because sometimes there are progressive causes that I think are not fiscally real. And they're great ideas, but they just may not be practical. And no, I am not talking about things like the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is fantastically practical. But it could be that there's a topic that is progressive in nature that simply the value isn't worth it. And I'm talking about not the value in terms of economic payback. I'm talking about the value in terms of the amount of money invested into a thing to make people's lives better. It's just to me that's ultimately the goal of government should be to improve the lives of its constituents. And if your government can't do that with if a particular program costs a lot of money and isn't really going to improve the lives of anyone, then it's not worth it. Even though some people may really, really want it or like it. But generally speaking, you have to spend money to make happy. And people will go, oh, where does the money come? Shut up. That is the dumbest take on earth. Where does the money come from? We already talked about this earlier. The money isn't real and it never was real. The money is entirely based on speculation, and money, we can create money out of thin air. We can also look at our budget and say, in order to maintain our stability, we have a certain amount of money, quote unquote, that we have in play. What are we going to do with it? Who are we going to give it to? And how are we going to allocate it? I would be all for spending less on things like military and more on things like humans. I would be all for defunding the police to fund programs that are essentially helpful before the police would be involved, or instead of the police being involved with better outcomes. Let's see. There's no party currently represents me. I don't think parties ever represent people. I think they represent interests. Constituents including corporations who have undue influence. Yeah, I love that that corporations are considered people. That's just one of those things that makes me giggle hard. But poor people want my money, Jim, for doing nothing. Oh my God, damn leftist. For the record, I happen to know he's joking, just in case anyone's getting pissy on that. Yeah, poor people want your money for doing nothing. Things like a universal basic income. I talked about this last week. One of the best investments in an economy, especially a struggling economy, but an economy in general, is to guarantee a safe bottom line for humans to survive through. The minute that you reduce or remove the fear of I could, if anything bad happens to me, I will be homeless. If anything bad happens to me, I won't be able to afford to eat. Those kinds of things. You remove that, all of a sudden your crime rate goes down, your overall productivity goes up, and people have the ability to improve in ways they haven't had for, in that pre-existing system. So, yes, I'm all for giving money to people for free. Just again, where it makes sense. A UBI of like $50,000 a month would be ludicrous. It would not help anything, and it would be dangerous. A UBI of, using a bullshit number, $2,000 a month would put everybody at a basic level of guaranteed survival, so that maybe millennials don't have to work 17 jobs all part-time just to keep a roof over their heads. That pisses me off. Like my generation is Generation X, and we had it hard in the sense that the baby boomers that came before me, their whole economic model was so completely different. You wanted a job, you would just go and hand out a resume and get a job and work there for the next 45 years, and everything was great. And you'd get a clock at the end, so that was cool. My generation was sort of the beginnings of the gig economy. Like, I haven't been an employee of anybody in 20 years, aside from myself. Being an employee is far less common, especially depending on your field, but especially like I work in IT, and I'm a bit of a specialist in IT. And that means that I'm probably never going to be somebody's employee, because it doesn't work. You don't need someone like me all the time. You need someone like me at the right time. And that's a very common thing. And I kind of got used to that idea. And then this whole gig economy concept that is what's flying now. This is ridiculous. This is abusive and, in my opinion, unsustainable. And it means, if you're a millennial and you're trying to work 3 different part-time jobs to keep the lights on, which is not an uncommon scenario, for the record, how are you supposed to balance that with going to school to self-improve? At my generation, I had to go into a giant amount of student debt in order to go to school, but I was able to do that. I worked one job around that, and I was at the time married, and my then wife also worked, and we got through. But if I'm some person who's working 3 part-time jobs, and they're all precarious, and everyone's always fighting for, stealing shifts here and there, how do you go to school? How do you self-improve? The answer is you kind of don't. And that means that the economy doesn't benefit from the fact that you are more educated and more capable. We're also not giving people a shot to be trained on the job, right? We expect that you are starting a job for minimum wage and that you already have your master's degree. See a big blurb here. Dear Jim, we want your skills, but we don't want to pay you benefits. Please accept this hourly rate as 100% of your pay, and you'll only work if we have work, and if we don't want you around, we'll toss you out and also pressure your rate because the only game in town. That said, welcome to the team, and please feel part of it and engaged and do your best. Rah, 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 rah. The funny thing is that this is exactly my life. I've had companies say to me, like, hey, listen, we don't have a whole lot of work right now. How about we switch you to part-time hours? And I go, no. Either I'm leaving or I'm staying, but I'm staying, and that's a thing that you're going to have to pay me to stay. If you don't have work for me, I totally get that, and I will go away and find something else, and hopefully, not screw my whole world over. But no, you can't just do that. And as a contractor, my, how people talk about severance packages and getting their 2 weeks notice, those are foreign concepts for me. I don't have that. Benefits? Look at my teeth and tell me that I've had benefits for the last 20 years. Hell no. This is a reality of a lot of people's lives. And yes, I am compensated more than if I was an employee. And this is the balance that happens. But it's not a balance. It's never a balance. And I certainly do not have the capacity to do that balance properly. But such is life. Bender, I'm 35 and currently a student. Had a career restarting. The struggle is more than real. It's crazy. Oh, hell yeah. I literally, and I've been saying this for a long time, I don't understand how this city works anymore. I don't understand how people can afford to live here, how people can afford to, to retrain. For a lot of people, we had a long period where, thanks to places like Fort McMurray and people who were willing to go out of town to work on the pipe or the patch, we had this sort of false confidence in our ability to stay afloat as a community, and also to have really good buying power, because the people who were going out to work in the middle of nowhere for 14 weeks on, 2 weeks off kind of thing were being compensated very well, and it was because they had to be. No one wants to do that. There was so much work, it was necessary, and then that dries up. I remember being really interested because there was a project that they wanted me to work on for a big oil company when I was early in my career. And they were like, we'll only do this if oil ever hits $50 a barrel, because we can't do this with oil being any less than $50 a barrel. That's just the realities of things. And I remember thinking, like, $50 a barrel, that's amazing. I can't imagine. And then oil was like $120 a barrel for quite a long time. And there was so much demand that oil workers were getting paid far more. Not oil office workers. I didn't see any of that benefit. But people out on the patch, because their lives were being upended to support this work, were being rewarded handsomely. And they were being retrained a lot of the time as part of their gig, which is exactly how shit should be, right? If I want my staff to, have additional abilities, paying for that makes sense. But those days are gone. Oil was what, -$5 a barrel earlier on when the yuan crashed and Saudi Arabia was just flooding the market with oil, which I believe was a whole, like, we're going to hurt Russia, ha ha ha, and all of the world was like, please don't. But this is the reality. So this is why. So I'm gonna segue now. I had a moment the other day. My eldest kiddo, Abby, was posted something on Facebook, and it was an awesome something that we had actually talked privately about beforehand. It was about meeting someone who was new in their building, and really excited to, like, hey, I may have made a new friend. And then the friend said scamdemic. And Abby was just like, because you have to be. Anyone who still lacks the capacity to understand the world around them that bad, just stay the fuck away. So Abby posted something about this on Facebook, and I jumped in and I was like, no doubt, that's ridiculous. And then someone else popped in and they were like, actually, let me tell you about the Great Reset. And I don't remember how it all went down. And I was like, I commented and I was like, you sound like someone who gets a lot of your information from right-wing YouTube. And immediately detonated. Oh, you are a bad person who supports or who is stupid because I used to work in government and I did papers on Davos, which is a lie, which is a lie. I've worked in government. They don't just hire summer students or, people just randomly to do this kind of work. If you're writing papers on Davos for a government agency, you're probably a policy, what's the term? Policy, I can't think of it anyway for the life of me. And you would say, I'm actually a policy, whatever the fuck that was, and I know a lot about this. This is my area of expertise. And I would go, oh, okay, maybe I'm wrong. But if you're like, I used to work for government and I wrote papers about this, you're just fucking lying. And so it was fun. I giggled a lot. I'd love to embrace difference of opinions, but their opinions being against my ability to live is disgusting, and I have no energy to argue anymore. Hell yes. That is the fucking truth. I am tired of arguing with people that my friends deserve to be alive. I am tired of arguing with people that having oxygen is probably a good idea. I'm tired of arguing with people that this flu, which put a person who's like a friend of a friend, I just was found out is in a chemically induced coma to survive this. And they're 45 years old. This isn't some like 98-year-old granny who's having trouble breathing because she got the flu. This is a healthy human being who's suddenly in a world of trouble because of this ugly fucking virus. And anyone who at this point can't put those thoughts together and go, maybe this is a bad thing, that person is not someone I need in my life at fucking all. And I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm perfectly okay with just saying, no, don't need you. We're good. My buddy Dongo once, years ago, he was going to SAIT and he was at a party and someone came up and was like, Dongo, I want you to meet this guy, Dick. You'd love him. And Dongo looks at him and goes, I have enough friends, thanks. And then just walked away. And I've always loved that story because it's very Dongo and it's also very much how I feel a lot of the time. I don't need to curry favor with everybody. I don't need to jump through all the hoops in the world. I can just be. And if somebody wants to hold opinions that I don't hold, I'm happy to have a conversation. I'm happy to, hopefully change some minds. But if that's not going to happen, or if I don't have the energy to do that, all right, bye. See ya. Peace. I'm okay with that. So that made me think about the whole Davos thing and the Great Reset. And I just want to make sure it's understood that the Great Reset isn't a sick communist plot to destroy the world. I know, hot take. But the whole thing about the Great Reset is it's about looking at capitalism. It's a liberal thing. This is exactly what I'm talking about. It's about looking at capitalism and saying, this isn't all the way working and there are problems, so we need to fix them. When I was hospitalized last year for unrelated issues, I was literally smack anyone who denies or belittles this virus. What I saw makes me say, absolutely. Pardon me. Absolutely. Just the idea that anyone would, knowing what we know and seeing 500,000 people in the US dead, to belittle that is just ridiculous. I'm going to just quickly paste in the link to, oh, for fuck, I'm doing things dumb. I'm going to paste in the two links into the chat for the donations. Where's my thing? One sec. Just so it's nice and handy in case anyone wants to send a tip your old pal Jim's way to, more importantly, your old pal the Bear Clan's way. And Bear Clan YYC. Oh, almost typoed again. Clan YYC at gmail.com. Again, you can donate either way. You can either directly send them an e-transfer, or you can send it to this thing here, which will fill slowly up and hopefully hit the $300 mark. And all of that money will go directly to the Bear Clan because they're awesome and I don't need the money, they do. So that's the whole thing. But yeah, I watched videos from Davos, and what I thought was, this is liberalism. This is exactly, it's the status quo, and how do we make the least amount of change possible? And a lot of big talk. They talk about climate change, and they talk about things like the Green New Deal and stuff. For the record, the Green New Deal is a very radical thing, but it's a very well thought out, well put together, necessary endeavor. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying I have a encyclopedic knowledge of it, but the reality is, it is totally a thing we need to do now in order to keep ourselves breathing and stuff. I am going to talk about social cooling either after this, or if I might talk about it sometime this week. But I definitely am going to talk about social cooling. The I hate to sound like the World Economic Forum, but COVID showed us pretty cleanly that the way we're doing the whole capitalism scene ain't working properly. I disagree with the way that they think they can fix it. And the way that they think they can fix it is really by platitudes, in my opinion. I just feel like there's not a lot of muscle behind it. Things like the Green New Deal, things like embracing the fact that we have to. Oh, you're leaving in 10? Yeah, I'll do a separate talk on it, because I know you would like to be a part of that, and so I'll do like a Tuesday night or something. I'll let you know via the Discord. But yeah, so expecting business to just, out of the good of their hearts, change from oil to other forms of energy just ain't a thing. The reality is, we have to change. We have to change how we get our energy. We have to change how we get our lubrications and greases. We have to change how we use petroleum products in manufacturing. Like, there's a million things we have to change. And business is incentivized not to change. That's the thing. That's how it is by design, right? Businesses are supposed to, at all times, seek their maximum ability to return on investment. It's even worse in the world with shareholders, because shareholders are kind of monsters and expect for the maximum return with the least amount put in. Shareholders will also jump ship, which can cause serious problems with the stability of an economy, or sorry, of a company's bottom line. So there is a need the larger a corporation is, the more they have to curry favor with their shareholders. And investing in different technologies, for example, like to bring about green energy, is expensive. People love to talk about how wind and solar can't replace oil and gas. You're fucking A right, they can't today. I don't know if they can't tomorrow, if we make some steps forward in how we effectively utilize those technologies and make some actual improvements. But definitely today, no. Are those the only options? Probably not. I do like nuclear power. And I know Fukushima and something about Japan dumping water or something, or nuclear. I don't know enough about that to genuinely speak about it, but it strikes me as crap. That's my 2 cents on it. The necessity to invest in order to get to a place where we have actual change being possible, and it's an expensive endeavor, and that's why governments should be supplementing that, should be encouraging it through actual cash encouragement, and should be leading the charge as much as they can. Oh my God, that sounds like a communism. And it is, because contrary to what we think we are seeing in the world, capitalism won't do that. Capitalism refuses to adapt because the current method works and the new method costs money. I get it, no judgments, but it isn't what works. In the 1970s, here in Alberta, there was a conservative in power named Peter Lougheed. And all of a sudden, oil and gas was making money. And Peter Lougheed wanted to sink his teeth into some of that sweet, sweet money. And he actually paid a decent amount of money to create a company called Alberta Energy Company. And Alberta Energy Company was partially owned by the province and partially owned by private interests. And it remained that way for quite a long time. And then eventually the government sold their stake and AEC became a fully private company and then eventually merged to create Encana and blah, 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 blah. But the point is, Lougheed was smart enough to say, there is a pool of money that is being made here. The province should get into the game and should have some of that money. Likewise, this is kind of the flip of that, and that is it will take investment to move us forward. As a province, our economy is heavily reliant on oil and gas. That is not sustainable. That is not something we can do for a long time. So we better fucking quit it. We better be looking at ways to get off of it. And we're not, or at least not in any real sense. We have alternative energy businesses happening, but they're still just a tiny drop in a giant bucket of our economic activity. And we need to supplement that with investment by government because private companies won't do it. Let's see. Fukushima was a disaster because it's very hard for Japan to create energy, and nuclear was the best option for that prefecture. Sadly, the Ring of Fire won that battle. I agree. My understanding, and again, I'm not an expert on all things Fukushima, but my understanding is that part of the issue is that it was already an old space that was not really being properly maintained is another big issue. And again, I don't know what went in. It certainly, I think I heard that the waves from the tsunami were higher than the walls around the building, and that was not something that was expected. So that's a thing. I mean, like, you can't plan for all eventualities. You try, but you can't. Now, as soon as AEC became profitable and then cheap due to a bust, it merged with Pan Canadian to become private Encana, who subsequently took Alberta taxpayer money Kenny gave them and said, so they fucked off to the U.S. as Optiv. Absolutely. There was the split in the meantime between Encana and Cenovus, where they became two companies. But yeah, it went from being an investment in a company to pull money into Alberta and, let's become what we hate. It became a thing that took money from Alberta and then took away all the jobs that were there and all that stuff. Taxpayer funded by Lougheed, made to work, then tough times give it to a company, then tough times give them money to leave because this is working. Exactly. That whole thing just drives me absolutely bonkers. When people talk about trickle-down economics and the idea that sending money to a company like Encana, and let's pretend that they didn't leave. Let's pretend that they had actually used that money and invested in the local economy. That's great. That creates jobs. That's a good thing, 100%. The money, if you took a dollar for dollar comparison between the money given to Encana in this fictional world where they actually didn't fuck us over, and compared that to the money, the benefit and the utility of the money given by CERB, I'm pretty sure we have a very different conversation on our hands. CERB and things like a universal basic income will automatically be so much more beneficial to a country or a province or a city or whatever than expecting trickle down to work. Because fucking doesn't. And this shouldn't be new. CERB wins hands down. Absolutely. Economic impact of CERB has been so massive, and thank fuck, because we needed it. We were in a position where we would have been in real goddamn trouble if we didn't have CERB literally saving people from homelessness, literally saving people from going without food. And the end result is people survived, people thrived, the economy maintained. Because remember, at the same time we're getting CERB, oil's negative $5 a barrel. That was a thing. Good luck. Thank you. Thank you very much. I am Canadian. I appreciate that. And definitely, again, to donate to the stream, you can donate right here. It's streamlabs.com/biguglygym/tip. That will show up in this cool little bar right here that looks like a cigarette right now. I had set a goal of $300. I don't care what comes in or what goes out. It'll all go to Bear Clan. But what matters is supporting them. So if you want to directly email, transfer money to them, it's bearclanyyc@gmail.com. They are so worth it. They are so good and lovely human beings. La Corazon, I don't imagine you're still watching because you're probably busy saving the world while I talk about it. But just an amazing group of people doing all the best stuff. So please do support. I don't care how you do it. It's just that it gets done. So yeah. That was a long ramble about a bunch of different topics. I'm gonna go back quickly and talk about oil and gas because I work in oil and gas, and that makes me the devil, and I get that. I don't specifically need to work in oil and gas. It's just that in this particular province, those are the jobs that are most readily available for me. I've also worked in government. I've also worked in, for a very brief period, in biotech. I've done a bunch of different things. I've taught college. I've done a bunch of stuff. Oil and gas has definitely been like my bread and butter. But it's frustrating to me because oil and gas kind of won't be there for us. It's a hard, fast fact. Now, a while back, and I don't know the details specifically 100%, but my understanding is there was a specific oil well. I think it was in...
Nancy donated 20 Canadian
Nancy,
dollars
thank
because
you.
They are rad.
They are rad. Thank you so much, Nancy. You're a fantastic human. Do you like this head with all the dollar signs on it? I'm clever. And it starts off by going, ka-ching, which is my voice. Anyways, babble, babble, babble. Fuck, what was I talking about? Shit. Brain stopped. Yeah, the whole thing with oil and gas is it's got to change because it's not for... Oh, I remember now. Yeah. Where is the idea that oil and gas comes to us forever? This actually has really terrible, legitimate scientific data. When I say legitimate, I mean it's terrible and bad, but it's published and peer-reviewed and stuff. So there was this, well, somewhere, who fucking knows where. I think it was in Hawaii, but I'm not 100% sure. And it was a dry well. They were done getting oil out of it. And then one day, they started getting more oil out of it, quite unexpectedly. And people wrote this paper, and it basically said, in a scientific way, the reason that this happened is because God gave us the earth to be as masters of all that we saw, and he loves us, and so he gave us oil, and it's forever replenished because God loves us so much. And I'm struggling not to break out laughing when I say that because it's completely fucking stupid. And it turns out that peer review can sometimes just be like, yeah, that looks good. I like Jesus. That's a garbage idea. There are probably legitimate reasons why oil suddenly occurred in that space again, if it even did. But I'm assuming, like let's say that it did. It could be that there was some kind of a plate tectonic thing that a pocket of oil, was suddenly in the area of the drill, and the drill was able to siphon that oil. Who knows? Clearly, I'm not Christian enough to have the answer to this, but this is considered legitimate science. The idea, the foundation of this is that God so loves us that he lets us have all the things we want. That's silly. And it's not how the world is. And I just really don't get it. We know that oil is a finite resource. If you remove all of the climate change and just pretend like, oh, that science is inconclusive, which it's fucking not. If you remove all of that, we still have a finite amount of oil. And relying on it is gonna be a problem. So get past that and look at the greater picture of we have to have energy. Some kind of transmittable energy. I have to be able to plug my laptop in and get electrons out of something. I have to be able to drive. I have to be able to have things like lubricants and greases. I have to be able to have... Oh,
Abby donated 20 Canadian
thank you,
dollars.
Abby.
They're red. Great work.
Thank you. Great work from you for donating $20 with my awesome head thing. This makes me happy because I just genuinely want to support these folks. And if this was not COVID, we'd be having fundraiser gigs for them through the Beer Corps. But it's COVID, so this is what I got. It's what I got to work with. Anyways, whether you agree with the science or not, this goes away. We have to either completely change how we are as a society, or we have to change how we're getting the energy, how we're getting the lubes, how we're getting the greases, all of that kind of crap. And that's the easiest thing to do. And it's not one answer. It's not like, people are so annoying about this. People will go, hemp. Hemp cannot possibly sustain all of the things we needed to do. Hemp has a place at the table, and a very important place. But it's not the only thing. Solar, wind, hemp, nuclear, fucking I don't care. A lot of shit will have to go because we've had this very abundant resource that is killing us and that we are relying on that is going to fuck us over. So we can't do that. We have to evolve how we're doing this. And I just don't get it. In terms of the science is very clear. And when people say that there's not a consensus, they're being dishonest and disingenuous. There is absolutely a consensus among people who know that topic. You know where there's not a consensus? Geologists, geophysicists. Those are scientists. And they love to get geophysicists and geoscientists to go, well, I just don't believe that these are accurate facts. They're not climate scientists. And this has been said a million times, and I feel like an idiot repeating it, but this is just facts. Lubes and greases we don't talk about. Solar will never be able to, get lube out of the sky. But yeah, I did that. Lubes and greases, when I very early in my career, I worked for a particular oil company that had a lube and grease division. And the lube and grease division was so, it was like for every molecule of oil they turned into grease versus oil they turned into anything else, it was their most profitable commodity. Sky Lube for the win. Absolutely. But this was the most profitable way that they could use oil. Now, they couldn't, unfortunately, just sell lubes because there's not a large enough market to do that. But the lube and grease side of that business was actually like one of the most powerful at the table in those conversations within the company, because it was far and away the best use of their oil molecule. We talk about energy when we talk about oil and gas, and we talk about getting, removing our reliance on foreign energy, and we talk about solar energy and clean energy, but lubes and greases, like, you still need some shit. This is one of the areas where I think, things like hemp are going to be vital, is in a product that creates, I just bumped my thing and I went wonky for a sec. A product that can be used to create lubes and greases because they're important for manufacturing. They're important for driving your fucking car. They're important for my squeaky ass couch. You know, they're necessary. Forgetting that is not working for us. I'm kind of and this is another area where I feel like the voice of some kind of reason, and that is we're still going to need pipelines because not everywhere that has humans has the ability to grow the things like hemp. And transporting that is going to be a thing. Pipelines will need to be different, but they'll need to be done. It's like the aqueduct. We're still living in a world where not everyone has the same access to resources. What I think is cool is the more that we diversify, the more opportunity each of those places has to find something that will meet their needs or give them a bit of the ability to engage in that kind of sale. So yeah, I'm probably very unleft in that regard, but I think that for the time being we have to have oil, we have to have pipelines. In the long run, we have to get off of it, and we have to come up with other solutions that will involve transporting stuff. And when you talk about transporting things, pipelines are safe. Rail is like the shittiest. Rail and car, like massive problems. So much so that we don't report on half of them. Like the last time anyone can think of a derailment, for the most part, the last thing I can think of is I can't remember the name, Lac something or other, from where like the entire town blew up. But derailments happen way more often than that. And we don't talk about them because we don't want to talk about them, because oil's real important to us and we like oil and we don't want to talk about how it's like a problem. But moving it is a fucking problem. I feel like if we can find a way to engage with the people who are the rightful landowners, 9 times out of 10, you can actually find a passage for a pipeline that goes through, for example, indigenous land, where everyone benefits. And it's not a quick, like, hey, we're doing this, out of the way. That's not how conversations happen. Or it actually, to be fair, that is exactly how conversations have historically happened. And that is exactly how these conversations can't happen anymore, because that was shitty and we don't want to be shitty. We want to do better. Wow, I'm really rambling about this whole, I don't know, somehow I got here from Davos. This comment on my kiddo's Facebook. If you're scared of the Great Reset, you don't understand the world. Another example of the Great Reset would have been the New Deal. Periodically, we have to look at our systems and go, wow, we need to fix things because things are not super awesome right now. We need to do something about this. And liberalism will do the least amount possible to sustain things. And I get that. Capitalism, in its pure sense, will do fucking nothing because there's still money to be got. And until there's not, capitalism has to, by its very nature, suck all the marrow out of those bones. Socialism is where we act for the greater good. And I know that's a take a lot of people don't feel good about. When people think socialism, they think Stalin. Stalin was not a socialist. Stalin was not even really. He was a tanky, for want of a better term. He was the Omega tanky. But he was not indicative of what socialism is supposed to be. Socialism should not be authoritarian. Authoritarianism, in my mind, authoritarianism is the biggest threat we face right now. It is the reason why we can have a Donald Trump, a Jason Kenney, a Rob Ford. And it's the reason why those people exploit those positions and their friends get rich and they get rich and no one else gets rich. And it's why people wind up so frustrated and so broken and hurt by these systems. So, yeah, not a big supporter of authoritarianism, despite being a socialist. I believe in public ownership. I believe in worker communes, not communes. That sounds like communally owned co-ops. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm not by any stretch super knowledgeable about all the bits and pieces. So if someone wants to go like, but what about this one time where a thing, yeah, that one time a thing fucking happened. How many times does that matter? How many times does that stop the conversation and make it so that we don't have reasonable, good conversations that need to take place? Far too fucking often. It derails that conversation and stops us from doing the shit that we need to do. And that frustrates me, honestly. That I find that really annoying because these are shortcuts to actual thought. They're preventing us from effectively changing the world. The Great Reset is about looking at the current situation, saying things are not working. What can we do to fix it? That needs to happen. Davos's Great Reset is like the super weakest version of that. It is literally like a lot of talking points and a lot of great feeling sound bites and not a whole lot of actual work. The actual work has to come from the people, and most of us don't understand it. That's just that. Wow, I rambled a lot about a whole bunch of different topics intertwining into one great big miasma of evil. Now I really have to pee. How am I doing on my smoking time? Oh, look at that. It's like almost exactly to the minute. Who's a fucking champion? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put on some more music. I'm going to go for a pee and a smoke, and I'll be right back. Drinking all that coffee might not be the smartest of plans. Again, in what I'm doing is I've got music either by my bands or I've gotten permission from bands to showcase their music. That doesn't mean I will avoid the copyright strike. It just simply means that I'm doing what I can. So first we're going to do Tripping Over the Starting Line by Ella Fitzgerald, one of my old bands. And then a phenomenally good band from Medicine Hat. Nate, I don't know if you're listening or not, but this is No Hope for the Lost, Through a Prism Lens. So they have a new album out that I haven't picked up yet. You should. They are so good. So good. So here we go. Ella Fitzgerald. That's me on the bass. Oh, and I gotta put up my...
That's
so good. So good. Man, I love that band. And it's a two-piece, Ray and Nate, and they're just super awesome people. If you know the Alberta metal scene, then you probably know both of them and probably hold them in the highest of regards because they're just fantastic humans. Yeah. So we're almost halfway on the donations. Again, I'm not worried about, you know, I'm not like, oh my goodness, if I don't make $300 in donations, I'm a terrible person or anything like that. This is the first time I've done this. I don't have a huge audience, so you know, cool. If you see this and you can afford to drop a couple bucks, again, you can either use the streamlabs.com/bigouglyjim/tip, which will make it show up here, or you can directly email money transfer to bearclanyyc@gmail.com. I don't care how they get the money. I just care that they get the money. They're fantastic, and I want nothing more than to see them live, thrive, and survive, and be able to do all the stuff that they want to do. So I got really, really political in the last little while. So I'm trying to avoid that for a bit. Let me look at my list of stuff. Anyone, by the way, like if you're watching and you just have questions or anything, like feel free to shoot them into the chat. I'm more than happy to talk about whatever. I was saying, like, I will always try to be completely honest and probably painfully verbose because that's who I am and what I does. I look at my list and it's all like, it's pretty much all politics. I gotta do better, but I will. I'll talk about something else. What's a good thing to talk about? I one of the things that I noticed in Taylor's stream, and this isn't a hack on Taylor in any way, but Taylor asked Jyoti what she felt her biggest accomplishment off of the political scene, like aside from politics, was, and Jyoti's response was perfectly reasonable, but it just popped into my head like the answer is always family. If you've had kids, then like if you don't say, oh yeah, the best thing I did outside of my work life was have kids, then you're kind of a monster and probably deserve deep censure and pain. But I think that's almost like we should give the out when we ask that question. We should be like, okay, that, but also, what other thing besides your kids? Because my kids are the best thing I've ever done, the best thing I ever will do. But I want to brag about other stuff because my kids, frankly, they speak for themselves. They're fantastic humans, and I fucking rule for having made them with my own seeds. If I was to say what was the thing in my life aside from my kids that I was most proud of, and when I say professional life, I'm going to include my music life and my promoter life and all those things. The thing I'm most proud of probably is the fact that, and I'll include this in that, which is obviously a huge, a massive, massive part of my business profile. I have like 60 subscribers on YouTube. I think like 13 or 14 followers. I'm definitely not a successful streamer, but I don't have to be. So if I look beyond all the things that I do that are kind of in that vein, I think the thing that I'm most proud of was the short story that I got published once upon a time in a little magazine called 3 a.m. Magazine. And it was so cool that they published me, and I immediately reached out and I was like, man, I'm so excited. Thank you for publishing me. If you guys ever need like some help with, your website or whatever, because I was a web application developer at the time. And that wound up being many, many years long. I met some phenomenal people all online. And really had an opportunity to grow. I became a one of the editors in chief of the magazine. It's still going. I'm not involved with it anymore because I just don't have the time. And honestly, as a writer, I was never the top shelf, but I did all right. And I got a variety of things published there and in other places. And that was a really cool experience. So that's probably the thing outside of kids and work and all the things that sort of pretend to be work for me that I am most proud of. Bender says, my kid's not even 3 and he's the best thing I've ever done or ever will. Haha. Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, all of my kids have become amazing humans. Or in the case of the youngest, he's on his way to becoming an amazing human, but he's still 17 and they're basically garbage. But yeah, I feel like that's a question that has the obvious answer. If you've had kids, you kind of have to be like, yeah, kids. My kids are the thing that I am most proud of. Because if you're not most proud of your kids, well, you're probably doing something fucking wrong. And I would bet good money that like the monsters in industry, when you ask them that question, they'll say they're kids, even though they're not half the time where they have them. You know, it's a pat answer. So henceforth, anytime anyone asks me what I'm most proud of, I will say besides my kids, because it's a good question and deserves a proper answer. Yeah, I'm super proud of also, and again, this is more of on a professional level, but super proud of the work I've done with local music, both as a musician and as a promoter, because I've been able to, you know, they always say find that thing you love and do that. Well, I did, and I still theoretically am. I mean, I'm still making music and all that stuff. It's just COVID makes everything impossible. But that has been one of the most important parts of my life. I've met so many amazing people. I've accomplished some things I never expected to want to accomplish, but have done it. Like yesterday, I had this, or no, a couple days ago, I had this idea that, and I'm not sure that I'm going to do it, but I was like, you know, when I do those little like live recorded, pre-recorded videos, might be cool to like have a little jazzy like kind of a thing behind that, like a little beat poet or something. I don't know if I'm gonna do that, but I sat down with my DAW and my alternative rock drums pack that I bought from Get Good Drums. And I built a very simple jazz drum line. And then I went and sat down and recorded a very simple jazz bass line over top of it. And I'm like, that's shit that I never expected I'd be able to do. You know, I come from a musical background, but I am not a musician. You know, my family are musicians. My mom has a degree in music. My grandfather on my dad's side was a career ragtime musician. I know exactly what I do, and it's mostly loud yelling. But to evolve a little bit and to be able to you know, play music and stuff is, and to get better at it is really cool. You know, when people talk about how punk is dead, I think a lot of punk musicians get good at their instruments and move into other areas. That might be a little, you know, shitty to say, but punk is a music that is attainable for anyone. You don't have to be good, you have to be passionate. And I loved that about when I started playing in punk bands. I didn't need to be an amazing musician. I just needed to have energy and fun and excitement, and I did those things really well. And then I wound up playing Keith Morrison band, playing like upright bass for like folky rock and roll kind of music. And then, you know, ditto with Ella Fitzgerald. And now I'm in a prog metal band, Bodies of Everest. And, you know, all this shit is not stuff I ever expected, but I'm super excited about it. And as a promoter, you know, I pride myself on the fact that this company has been around for as long as they have. This company has put on some amazing shows, some real duds, let's be honest. But we've put on some amazing shows over the years, and we've been able to create a piece of a larger music community that is really tight knit. I was watching this morning. I watched Getting Late with Nate's latest episode, and he had on Quorthon and Craig Bearchief, and a couple of other guys whose names escape me, and their new band whose name also escapes me. But it was really phenomenal, really interesting interview. And midway through, it was adorable because they were talking about how 15 years ago they never would have thought they'd be embraced by the Calgary music community, because these are kids from Siksika, and Calgary is a world apart. And I think historically, Calgary hasn't always been all that welcoming to Indigenous people. And from conversations I've had with them, I think that there are definitely still parts of the Calgary music scene that are not very forthcoming and not very open. And they do the, oh, look, it's scary Native people, we're terrified. I hope that's not the case, but it probably is, because people suck. I just thought it was really cool to have been a part of making a welcoming environment for people who haven't had that. And that's really a beautiful thing. It was also really cool because they were like, yeah, people like, Nate, and people like, Mark in the Calgary Beer Corps. And I always giggle because Mark in the Calgary Beer Corps historically has meant Mark and Jim. Not that I'm the Calgary Beer Corps, but the two of us were the Calgary Beer Corps for a very long time. There are other people involved now, and I'm glad. But there were times, I remember I booked a show, and Stab Twist Pull was playing the next night that Mark had booked, and I booked a show that night, and Hogs, rest in peace, Hogs was in the room for that show, and he knew that I was the one that booked the whole thing, all the way through. And the bands on stage kept going, I just want to thank Mark and the Calgary Beer Corps for this opportunity to play the show tonight. And I was joking like, oh yeah, I booked the fucking show. Thank me, motherfuckers. And the next night, even though Mark booked the show, Hogs is on stage. He's like, I want a special shout out to Big Ugly Jim and, the Calgary Beer Corps, whoever that is. And it made me feel very happy. I do miss me, Hogs. He was a good friend. So hopefully when all this is over, we can finally have the send-off show for him. That was a hard no. We booked that right when the lockdowns were all happening, and that sucks. Sorry, I'm getting smokes from my kid again. Smoke 'em up, Johnny. It's a reference to the Breakfast Club. I know. He actually watches good movies, which is cool. He's got a real flair for film and a real interest in film, so that's cool. And I was able to, I think I watched Breakfast Club with him for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think at the time when we watched it, you weren't too stoked on the idea when I was like, we should watch this. It's a really good movie. And you were like, cool, old man.
And then the jock started dancing in the library, and I was like, all right, this is awesome.
Yeah, because that scene is...
The turning point.
It's the turning point. It's the rite de passage for all film fans.
Yeah.
Totally. Oh, man. Definitely, an example of how I can be a proud dad. My kid's awesome. He's learning to be awesome. They're still young. They're still gonna make mistakes, and that's okay. I'll love them either way, but I'll love them more if they stop making mistakes. Just kidding. Oh man, I watched this. Was it Unsolicited Encino Man? Abby's sharing an inside joke there. When Seth first came to live with me, Abby and I were living together. Abby is my eldest, and Seth is the eldest of the two boys. And I was like, we should watch Encino Man. Trying to think of what's a good movie to watch with my kid. And he said something to the effect of like, well, I don't really like movies about stone. And we laughed at him and teased him mercilessly for the next, 5 years, which is, today. In fact, we did make jokes about that earlier today, Seth and I. So that was, that's actually a thing we continue to tease him about. Fuck, where was I going? I was about to say stuff. I don't know. How are you guys doing? How's everyone handling this whole madness of pandemic and everything? Like, I know I'm struggling, but not like struggling hard. I'm making it, I guess is the right way to say it. So I hope everyone else is doing as good or better. I know this is a garbage time, and we're all getting through as best we can, but hopefully we're having a little bit of a chance to shine from time to time. I'm doing all right. I can't complain too terribly loudly. All right, I'm gonna look at my unsolicited prompts. Oh, I got a comment. Congratulations, you've received 100 messages today with Restream Chat. I can tweet out that I got 100 messages. Oh boy, howdy. I feel like I'm not gonna do that. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to talk about the castle doctrine, which is me violating that whole I'm not going to talk politics, but I think it's an interesting thing. I feel robbed of my youth, both from working too much and then pandemic. Yeah, Abby is of an age where this is the time where they should be out doing things and excited and making dumb choices and, doing cocaine and all the shit that, you don't want people to do, but they're going to do. And instead, they get to stay home and watch Netflix. That sucks. I wanted my kids to have a much more full, rich experience. When Abby came to live with me, I dragged her out to punk and metal shows. And Uncle Mark physically dragged her into the mosh pit a time or two. And that's what I wanted for this time for all of my kids. 3 out of 4 of my kids are of legal drinking age, and I wanted them to have the chance to to be dumb and have stupid experiences and fuck up and learn from it. But thanks, COVID, you're awesome. So the castle doctrine. I feel like this is a fairly misunderstood concept, but it comes down to a man's home is his castle. That's what the doctrine's all about. And the castle doctrine specifically is, it's about your ability to essentially protect your castle. I'm gonna bring up, because they're just to make sure I'm not saying stupid shit, because I say stupid shit sometimes. Just gonna bring up Wikipedia just so that we're all on the same page-o here. I gotta switch to my can see the browser view. All right. So essentially, the castle doctrine, or castle law, defensive habitation law, is the legal doctrine that designates a person's abode or any legally occupied place, for example, a vehicle or home, as a place in which that person has protections and immunities permitting one, in certain circumstances, to use force, up to and including deadly force, to defend oneself against an intruder, free from legal persecution for the consequences of the force used. This term is most commonly used in the United States, though many other countries invoke comparable policies in their laws. I think that this is a fascinating concept. This is the difference between being Canadian and American to me. The idea that, my castle is inviolate and I should be allowed to defend it as necessary. That's all really cool, but it leads to a lot of fucking problems. It's also not actually American, like it's not American law. It's American feeling. Kind of like, the fact that the government can't make laws about religion, but, they fucking do. Or discriminate against people for their ability to vote, but they fucking do. America is like there's two Americas. There's the America people think they live in, and there's the actual America. And to me, the castle doctrine is a really good example of that. I think it used to be that like if somebody broke into your house, you could shoot them, and I know that you can still get away with that largely, in the United States. Canada has rules about I think it's called imminent danger is how they phrase it, but essentially it's you have to genuinely believe that this is the only option. Our self-defense laws are similar in that like if somebody picks a fight with me and I beat 8 shades of shit out of them, I'm probably violating the law because it turns out beating 8 shades of shit out of people isn't all that nice. And people are not constrained by doing the right thing or, not being dinks. So the castle doctrine and that concept of self-defense and self-protection and all that stuff, like America goes so far with this. And I really feel a lot of like, Trayvon Martin is a good example of that privileged, like ridiculous level of, well, I should be allowed, I was protecting myself. The South Park episode of like, he's coming right for me, whatever the dude with the laryngectomy, all that stuff to me is it's wacky. How acceptable it is to like kill a person. Sadly, there's not much difference here when it comes to people being killed for trespassing, especially racialized folks. Happens so often here, and the killers always get away with it. Absolutely. You know what? That is very, very valid. I remember, and we don't talk about it. We don't hear about it on the news. I remember hearing about, oh my God, I can't believe I don't have the name at the top of my head, but I think it was indigenous kids that were on a guy's property and he was shooting at them, and there was like that was one of the few times that actually wound up in the news. Yeah, like that. I think that's more of a rural thing. I could be fucking way wrong. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but the idea that someone's presence is a threat to you, which is why I mentioned Trayvon Martin. This legal defense mounted by Zimmerman that was like, I was in fear for my life because that fellow was not the same color as me. That's creepy and wrong and gross. Yeah, no one thinks it happens because it's never reported. We are very much spoon-fed our reality, and that's not like oh Canada, you jerk. It's like that's the world we live in, and the person who controls the spoon seems to have a lot of interest in not making sure or certainly making sure we don't know about these things. It happens more in rural settings. There's a story, and this isn't specifically related. You know what? I'll tell that story later if I remember, which I probably won't because I'm old and forgetful. Because I don't want to sort of steer away from what we're talking about here. We don't have this castle doctrine. We actually have to be acting in legitimate self-defense. If I fight a guy and I overfight that guy, if I go above and beyond the point where I can escape the situation, then I have committed a crime. If he dies, I have committed assault. I have committed manslaughter. And I once met a guy who went to jail for manslaughter by virtue of, pardon me, by virtue of someone in a bar, they had an altercation. They went outside. One person swung, the other person swung, and somebody fell and cracked their head open and died. And dude went to jail. I think it was involuntary manslaughter, but I mean, like that's a thing. That's how our system is designed, and it's neat. And I'm saying neat with giant fucking air quotes. How that doesn't seem to apply to indigenous people or racialized people in general. I think that's ugly as all hell. When people say, show me an example of a law that calls out black people. When you're talking about, inequity in the law and systemic racism. It's not about that the law says, and black people are not allowed to do this, or indigenous people are not allowed to do that. It's that the interpretation of the law and the systemic abuse of that interpretation allows for some fucking farmer to shoot a gun at human beings, and it'd be like, oh yeah, that's totally illegal, but we get it, guy. We're yeah, cool. You killed someone. Well, you shouldn't have been there. That's not okay. That's the concept of the castle doctrine, which, again, I was mentioning how they don't really have that in the States. One of the challenges to the castle doctrine was the no-knock warrant. And you hear about that a lot. I don't think a lot of people understand the concept of what that is and where they come from. Essentially, the war on drugs is once again responsible for an extra level of losing people's rights and freedoms. So the fear became that if you executed a warrant and you had to knock and say, this is the police, we are policing, and we're coming to arrest you, before the door could get opened, that person had time to flush the evidence. If you've got a brick of heroin and you're just like, flush it real quick. That's a legitimate concern. Unless we're talking about such a piddly amount of evidence that, probably shouldn't be a case, then we're actually being stupid there. But the argument was presented, and they came up with this idea of the no-knock warrant, where the cop doesn't have to knock. They can just kick your fucking door in and pull a gun on you. And not that would ever end badly, Breonna Taylor, but, if it did, what's your comeuppance? If I'm in my house and someone suddenly kicks in my door and I see a gun and I happen to be armed, or I'm a super ninja or whatever, and I defend myself, I might be hurting a cop. That's probably not going to go well for me. But that's a thing. That's a thing that can happen. It literally makes no sense to me that they can violate that sense of my home is my castle if they hold it in such high esteem. Now, we have no-knock warrants in Canada, I'm pretty sure. And conceptually, they're awful. And again, they're predicated on that idea of what if he flushes his drugs? If I'm flushing, if you're kicking in my door for cocaine, let's just say I'm Johnny McCoke dealer. You're kicking in my door. I have time to flush the amount of cocaine that I have on me. That probably wasn't enough cocaine for this kind of production with guns drawn. Right? I don't know how your toilets work. Mine, I think, is fairly middle of the road. It works. You push a little thing, out, down goes the water, away goes the cocaine. But I'm not going to get 3 bricks of cocaine down there. That's ridiculous. I'm going to have 4 baggies and I'm like, oh crap, fuck. Okay, good, we're safe. Fine. I beat the system. Yay me. If we're literally willing to take the risk of things like what happened to Breonna Taylor, because there's a possibility that somebody flushed drugs down a toilet and we don't have enough to charge them with the reason we kicked their door in, is that okay? In my mind, you know what? If they flush that drug, now they're not able to sell it. It's out of the system. Yeah, we don't get to prosecute them for it. Shucky darn. But no one has to die for that. No-knock warrants are legitimately dumb. They risk people's lives. They are an overextension of the importance of law enforcement into the lives of the people. Because really, we have to remember, law enforcement is supposed to serve us, not the other way around. So, fuck that. I don't know. I think the concept of the castle doctrine is flawed, but I think the concept of a certain amount of respect of the space that a person, and I'm not talking about public and private property, right? That's a common sort of lament around the thing. Well, it's private property. It shouldn't matter. It's private property. If I lock myself in a bathroom in a business and cops come in and kick the door in and put a gun in my mouth, I've been wronged. It doesn't have to be my space. It's the space that I'm occupying. So the castle doctrine ends with the things I own. I can protect my car, I can protect my dog, I can whatever, my home. But isn't the concept that we're trying to display here that people should be safe and secure unless they're, actively in the middle of doing, like, if I'm out on the street and I'm, start shooting at people, I can't be like, well, this street is my castle and you can't do nothing. Like, fuck that. You're a danger. You're an imminent threat. Different story. But if I'm sitting on the shitter in a Dairy Queen, I don't need a gun in my fucking mouth. If I'm in my house, I don't need someone kicking in my door. And this isn't like, white privilege. It is white privilege in the sense that it's probably less likely to happen to me as a honky. But it shouldn't happen to anyone. This is the whole thing about when people get uppity about when I talk about privilege. I'm not saying, A, that I don't have privilege or that you don't have privilege or that all privilege applies to everyone evenly. I'm saying that I have it really good. I am a middle class-ish, probably poor, but, on paper, middle class, honky. I have a college education. I have opportunity, and I have privilege. All I want is for that to go to everybody. There's no reason why it can't. There's no reason why someone being born poorer than me or darker than me or whatever shouldn't have the same luxuries and opportunities that I have. Doesn't mean everyone gets free shit. It means everyone gets opportunities. And opportunities should be free. We live in a fucking society where we should be building each other up. We should be allowing each other the opportunity to fucking thrive and flourish. And you know what? You're a capitalist? Great. Capitalism requires the building of a people and the flourishing of people and new ideas and new perspectives. These are all really good. So yeah, I'll say I've got white privilege because I do. And I don't want to have white privilege. Not that I want it to get taken away from me. I want everyone to have what I have. I don't think that's crazy talk. I don't think that's an impossible dream. I just think that we need to come to grips with the fact that this is how things is and this is how things should be, and they aren't the same thing, and we need to get from how things is to how things should be. That's all. Completely unrelated, just this popped into my mind. Have you guys heard about the Black Hammers? I'm not going to go into details about, what are one way or the other or whatever, but it is a group that is, so I would say, like, vibe-wise, they kind of have like a mix of like Black Panther, Nation of Islam kind of thing with a little bit of like black separatism and stuff. I'm not going to go into whether or not, they're morally right or they're morally wrong or anything like that. I think it's interesting because we keep hearing about people, white folks wanting to build a white city for whites only. And why can't we make a whites only city? And then this is a group of I think they refer to themselves as colonized and black people. I think that's the terminology they use. But they have raised like $64,000 for the purchase of some space in, I think it's like, I don't even know where, but they've bought some land, and the intent is to make a space where they're in control and stuff. And I'm really, there's a million things I could talk about. Their leader is someone who I find really, honestly, like, as terrible as it sounds, it's really hard not to make fun of him. because just very, very like jokery. But what I'm most curious about is to hear white folks freak out about this. And how like, oh my God, a black ethno state. What a sick idea. Because we've been fucking doing that for forever with our gated communities and literally with the, Montana militia dudes building spaces that are, buying land and being like, no black folks and no coloreds and all that shit. The problem is when the word privilege is thrown around, automatically someone feels they have to apologize for something and it all gets convoluted. But this is, sorry, white people, honky, my brothers, this is our fragility. I know everyone hates to hear these things. That's what this is. When someone, and I've been through this, and I still go through this. Someone posted a thing about like, how do we educate people about how the Mohawk is cultural appropriation? And honestly, I don't know how to take that. My immediate reaction was like, this, how the fuck? Yes, absolutely. Mohawk Indians and the Iroquois had hair that, like traditional hairstyles like this. I have to fucking put some thought in. I like my hair. It's the first time I've had hair. And I think it looks good. And I like the cleanness of it and all that shit. So I have to figure out how I want to process this. Maybe I'll grow more hair. Maybe I'll shave it off again. I don't fucking know. Maybe I'll do nothing. Maybe I'm okay with this. I really need to research this more because I hadn't even considered it. And there is an instinctive, when someone says, here's a thing, there's an instinctive reaction that is, wait. I'm not doing that. I'm tired of this. I'm not changing. I don't have privilege. Like, and the sense that I've overstepped, right? This haircut, I don't think I've overstepped, but I haven't done the thinking about that yet. My instinctive, like, oh, fuck, it's just a haircut. But I don't know how this affects other people. I probably should know that before I decide one way or the other. But my instinctive reaction was to be pissy about it. Not to be pissy at anyone in general, but to feel like I've been targeted. Because it's always been whites only. White has forever been the default everywhere. Really small example, finding emojis, GIFs, royalty-free images for projects, everything and everyone. It was white. It takes me twice as long to find royalty-free images and video for projects that show black people, and I hate it. Oh, hell yeah. I actually saw, I think it was, I don't recall which group it was, but somebody posted a link like this week to like a print. You said the word, and it's like stock photos, a stock photo site that was all people that weren't white. And, I read that and I was like, fuck yeah, that's awesome. Why wouldn't there be people that aren't white? Stock photo sites. But yeah, white is the default. White is the standard answer to the question. And, when we are confronted by this, we feel put upon. But we're not. We're put upon. Is that a word? We have had, by default, the easiest opportunity. That doesn't mean we haven't had hard times. That doesn't mean that being white and having privilege means that we're all rich and powerful tycoons. Fuck no. I have had a shit ton of struggle in my life. And all I can tell you when you're pushing back like that, all I can tell you is all of the struggles that I've had would have been that much worse if I wasn't a white male. I can embrace that and accept it as a fact about me. It's not something I did. It's not something I can apologize for. But what I can do is try to point it out, try to do better, and try to extend that same privilege to people who don't get it by default. Same could be said for the perfect family, white picket fence, and how. Yeah, absolutely. Hand in hand with racism is classism. I'll give you a hint. One of them's a lot worse, and it's racism. But classism is very real too. And yeah, and masculinity, and like we've created this narrow bubble of what we should be. And it's a wealthy white man with a white picket fence and a subservient wife, possibly Asian, certainly not other color. And the more we stray from that, the less we are successful, good people. That's not accurate, but there is a huge chunk of our society, whether intentional or otherwise, that presents that narrative. It's not a good narrative, and it's not a narrative that's sustainable or fair to me as a white male, to you as a whatever you are, no matter who. The only people it's fair to are fucking rich white dudes. Classes was something that stemmed from systemic racism. Systemic racism and white supremacy is literally at the core of our issues in society. Absolutely, 100% agree. I don't know. Again, I'm not a sociologist, but I remember reading a thing that was talking about the use of poor whites, and essentially to the rich, all poor people are shit. But they recognized that poor whites could act as foot soldiers, as long as you gave them the sense that they could one day become rich whites, potentially, if they work hard enough and pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And as a result, poor whites having the same or maybe marginally more than poor people of color would be able to look down on people of color and keep all the people in their place. And this was just like a hands-off, like autopilot, how to keep the classes from getting out of line when you're a rich person. I'm not a sociologist or anthropologist, social anthropologist. I don't know if I'm right or if I'm wrong, but I've always thought of the way that white culture, whether intentionally or otherwise, pits poor whites against poor whatever everything else. And I say everything else. I don't mean indigenous people, because that was the anything else checkbox that recently. But to me, it's kind of balls out frustrating that we live in a society where racism and classism are baked in. We should be challenging that. We should be doing better. And the things that will challenge that are things like reevaluating how we do both regular and post-secondary education, reevaluating how we make people available for healthcare and things like that. Yeah, you're something else, Bender. You are something else. The things that we need to change, we know about. It's time to change them. And when we talk about the Great Reset and we get all wonky-eyed about, how Bill Gates microchipped George Soros with a bird or some shit. I don't even fucking know what people are talking about anymore. But the core of all of this is recognizing that capitalism ain't all the way across the goal line on a lot of things, and we have to do better, and we have to find better ways, and we have to question the existing systems and tear them down and build them back up in ways that are better. So I can't point to you to a particular piece of law that says no black folk, or it's okay to kill indigenous people. That doesn't exist. What exists is a whole system of legal precedent that says, you know what, they were trespassing. It's rural Alberta. We get it. Things are tough out there. And things are tough out there. And the world is not a fucking easy place. But are we saying that we're okay with indigenous kids getting killed? Are we saying we're okay with cops killing people? I'm not. I'm never going to be okay with that shit. And so we have to fix these problems. And much like when I was talking about oil and gas, capitalism ain't going to fix them because capitalism continues to make its money. And until capitalism doesn't, it has no incentive to do a goddamn thing. So we, the people, need to do better. I support this fucking reset, though I still won't be any better than what we have now. It'll just be disguised in a different way. 100%. Like when the stuff that I've read from and saw from Davos, I described this earlier as it's very liberal change. It's like, what is the least amount of effort we can put in while talking grandiosely about things to make things better? And there's a place for that. Incremental better is better than no better. But we can do better than incremental better. We can fucking make some actual change. We can look like the Green New Deal is an example of that. I keep harping on this. That is a creative and clever evaluation of a legitimate series of problems with actual practical solutions. And people go, oh, it's not practical at all. Who's going to pay for it? Again, a bullshit statement. Who's going to pay for it? But also, these things trigger and generate economy. Things like a universal basic income trigger and benefit the economy in ways that all kinds of other stuff don't. Give money to rich people does not help anyone. Give money to poor people helps everyone. I wasn't okay with it before I found out about my roots. I'm even more not okay with it now. Yeah. Sorry. Bender, are you saying you're not okay with the Great Reset? Or I'm confused. I'll give you a second to clarify that if you want. In my way of looking at it, everything I've read about the Great Reset is it's like baby steps in the right direction. Just all the cop bullshit. Oh yeah. I'm so like, and again, Taylor's interview with Jyoti, it's interesting because in that conversation, Jyoti was talking about like there were so many cops who just aren't empowered and just aren't able to do better and stuff. And again, I'm super like downplaying because I'm a dink. The statement that I always go to is how many good cops does it take to change a light bulb? Good cops don't change anything. If you are a cop and you want to be a good person and you see systemic problems and you don't have means to address them, then make that means. Yeah. So Bender, what I'll tell you is this: the Great Reset. You can go to like the World Economic Forum website and get a lot of brochureware about how it's just the most important transformative thing, and it's the transformation that we need to do absolutely is. You can go to right-wing sites and get all of the Justin Trudeau wants to implant microchips in your head. You're not going to do that. I know you're better than that. In my mind, the Great Reset is a branding of a few systemic improvements. I think it's mostly lip service, and I think it's mostly, lots of trumpets and not a lot of gunfire. But the concepts that it's talking about, it's looking at climate change, it's looking at epidemiology, and this sort of thing. Like it's fucking Trudeau. To me, it's I had so much to say to her in that moment, but held my tongue and tried to stay as neutral as I could. You did great, because I know. I literally, as soon as she said that, my eyes on the screen went like junk right to you, and I was like, oh, Taylor got something to say. Yeah. You did a great job of being neutral, because I think that's what you guys are ultimately trying to do with these is to allow the candidates to express themselves and not to, belittle them on how you differ. Although if you guys have Farkas on, I don't know. There might be some belittling, no matter how hard you try. I think that's one thing most people on all sides agree with is fuck Trudeau and fuck the government. I think we agree somewhat. I mean, Trudeau's got his supporters, but to me, I think Trudeau is just such a meaningless leader. I literally hoped for better. And he's just a pretty empty shirt. And I got no use for him because he's not effective. He hasn't been an agent of change. And I was hoping that someone who was youthful and someone who came across as being quite progressive, like, fuck that guy, Jagmeet Singh, 10 times out of 10 will just shine in front of him. And that's right now, that's where my heart lies federally, is with hopes that Jagmeet Singh and the NDP can actually have some real ground covered in whenever our next election is. I may bring Farkas on just to tell him he's a piece of shit. I will watch the shit out of that. You will have views. Just me refreshing the page. Going, he's a piece of shit. It was brutal. He was the best option to the voters. I don't know that he was. Like, I felt really weird in that election. I remember very distinctly with the whole election of Trudeau. I thought that the NDP was going to do better than they did. And I can't remember the name of the guy, the total, like, nexus of all personality, like, nothing. I can't remember the name of him for the life of me, but I think that he lost the cult of personality, and Trudeau was young and hip, and he seemed like he would be really progressive and exciting, and he seemed more progressive than the NDP party at the time, in that first election that they did. I might be like conflating a million different elections in my head. I'm not that smart or good at time, but he was, I felt, a legitimate ray of hope. And the most recent election, I voted Liberal, and I voted Liberal only because the person who was running in my area impressed me. It was the only person I got to communicate with, and they were excited and passionate and infectiously so. And I thought, you know what? I don't want to vote Liberal because I don't want to support Justin, but I do want to support this young woman who I think had a lot to offer. And I literally could find nothing about the NDP candidate in my riding. If we had that American system where we could vote for a prime minister and a party, I would definitely have voted NDP as the prime minister and Liberal as the party because of this. But yeah, same kind of deal. It felt dirty voting Liberal, especially knowing that Jagmeet Singh had so much real promise, but the person in my riding was the one that impressed me, and that's, at the end of the day, that's what I chose. I don't know what if I had it all to do over again, I don't think I would have chose that, but that's what I did. So I live with it. And I live with right-wing people I know going, when you love Justin Trudeau. No, I fucking don't. I strongly dislike Justin Trudeau. Yeah, Ace Ventura figuring out Finkel was Einhorn dirty. I remember when my kids were little putting on that movie and just being like, oh yeah, I remember. It was like silly fun, right? No big deal. And like 10 seconds in, my ex-wife was like, seriously, dude? And I was like, yeah, sorry, stop. That was a handful, that movie. Voted Green my entire life, and even they have their shit. They all do. None of them are fully for the people, sadly. Otherwise, the TRC and 231 calls for justice would have been implemented already. My problem with the Green Party, everyone always says, vote green, vote green, vote green. I feel like the Green Party's economic policies are super conservative. And I feel like that gives me a sense that the underlying Green Party is lip service to a conservative agenda with a little bit of green policy on top. I might be wrong, and I'm more than willing to get proved wrong, but I've never been comfortable. Every time I hear Greens talk, I'm always really like not okay. I definitely agree that and frankly, Justin Trudeau is a good example of the TRC and the 231 calls for justice, the releasing of convicted marijuana dealers and how smooth and quickly he's managed to get that done. This is that whole thing of we don't have to make change. We can just change will happen eventually, right? Right, dudes? And no, you're the fucking prime minister. Your change is your job here, homeboy. So many people in my universe voted UCP because Kenny promised acting jobs. Oh man. Oh God, that breaks my heart. If there is one reason to not vote UCP, it would be acting jobs. There is no love for the arts in any way with any conservative politicians. They all have a conservative underlining and push capitalism, all of them. That's why they all suck, even the NDP. Oh, I definitely agree. Like, the NDP is not a socialist party. At the very best, you could say they were like social democrat or social democracy in the Sweden model. And I don't think even Jagmeet Singh is there. I think we're so far. It's that meme, with the butterfly. Is this communism? We're so fucking ridiculous with what we think the right and left are. Like, these days, middle of the road right is fascist adjacent, and super communist lefts like Bernie Sanders are sock Dems. Like, so far from being super far to the left. As a libertarian socialist, I am way more left than the policies that Bernie promotes. I think Bernie might be more left than me as a person, but he's playing a game, right? And he's trying to do what he can. Yeah, who he promised acting jobs? Who the fuck fell for that? Honestly, the UCP has such a terrible history of any kind of progress. And people can get snarky about that and be like, oh, my goddamn liberals. We have never had a liberal government in Alberta. We had an NDP government, which was essentially Lougheed era conservatives, more or less. But we have like 100 years almost of consecutive, almost uninterrupted conservative power in one form or another. And those conservatives have never been big on acting jobs. They've never been big on live local music. They've never been big on public education. They've never been big on funding post-secondary support. They've never been big on hospitals. They've never been big on poor people. They've never been big on the mental health people. It's literally, they are big on rich white dudes. And that's all they are, is big on rich white dudes. So yeah, when Taylor says, "Who the fuck fell for that?" Honestly, Big Pie is it Abby Big Pie? Is that what that says? I think that's my kiddo. Anyway, millennials are young enough not to know some of these things, and I could see being fooled by Kenny when he says things like acting jobs. And Abby at the time was working in an environment where she worked with a lot of actors, and people were probably pretty desperate. However, how'd that acting jobs thing work out? COVID aside, they would not be in any better position. If there had not been a pandemic, we'd be right where we are. I'm just gonna one last time before the end of, it's already almost 3. I should probably, do useful things. We made it to 46.67% of my goal. Again, the goal wasn't important. The raising of money was important. And I think that there's also been people who've sent money via e-transfers. I'm not worried about, oh, I needed you, let's push hard and make more money. Let's push hard and make more money. If you haven't donated and you want to and you can, that's awesome. Again, it doesn't have to go here, this thing. It can go directly to the Bear Clan. I don't need to, I'm not looking for credit here. I just simply wanted to have a few hours to where I was going to be talking anyways. Let's talk about things and at the same time do some good for some people. And there's $140 there that says that we did some good for some people. So I'm excited about that. And I want to thank everyone that donated. Bear Clan is very close to my heart. Those are some fine people doing fine work. And I just want to help the fuck out of them. So anything I can do, I will. So yeah, if you want to take a moment and donate, again, it's either if you're doing this way to make the little orange thing move, it's https://streamlabs.com/biguglygym/tip. And if you just want to send a money transfer, it is bearclanyyc@gmail.com. Doesn't matter to me what way you go. Doesn't matter to me. All that matters is help send them some money, because they're fantastic, and in Jason Kenney's Alberta, they're going to need all the help they can get. That's facts. So I think I'm gonna play a couple songs and crack open this beer, and then call it a night. Again, I will quickly reiterate, I am using music from people who have given me permission. In this case, the last two songs I'm going to do are... What the hell did I already do? I'm only going to do one. You know what? I'm going to be a giant pickle ass. And because I didn't think about this. Maybe I'll throw a Keith Morrison song on first. But both will be pretty close to the same thing. Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to play... The next song I'm going to play is Roboco. And then the last song I'm going to play is a band called Norman the Green Bums. So both of these are my old bands. Norman the Green Bums was literally one night only. We recorded a song. Our friend Fuck Amber, her mom had passed, and Spirit in the Sky was her favorite song. So she asked someone to record it. So I'll play that one first, and then I'll play Keith Morrison Band, and then I'm done. I wonder if we'll get copyright struck for cover. For the record, this was me, Jesse Watts, Sean Raven, and Fitzy and Raph. All atheists. We recorded hand claps. Thank you, Abby. And lastly, Keith Morrison Band. Both bands I played bass in. This is Roboco.
Isn't it funny when we realize our prophecies come true? And all I wanna do is talk to you. I woke up on that Friday night from a dozen scary dreams. I break on down and try to take a breath. I run away from the fear of every single day and wonder why it has to be this way. It's not unrealized the things I've done to you. I'm a breaker and a sealer, oh, it's true. And all I wanna do is talk to you. And all I want. Well, first the last is not a blast from the past. We've got a chance to take a stance, and now we're coming in fast. So fast, in fact, I fade to black, and I take back my lack of tact, and now we're the back of the pack. Come on. Sit and try to rationalize the crazy things I've done. Keep on wondering how this all begun. You never wonder how it all begun. And oh, Roboco, I hope you know I'm still in love with you. Roboco, I wish my brain just knew what to do. I still love you. Until those feelings start to fade away. Not fade away. Write my dreams and wishes in the song. Isn't it funny how we realize the crazy things keep coming true? And all I wanna do is talk to you. And all I wanna do is talk to you. And all I wanna do is talk to you. Roboco, I love you. And all I wanna do is talk to you. And all I want. And all I wanna do is talk to you. Roboco. And there's a sun is setting on another day that got away. The only thing to say is that I'm falling apart. With a heart that knows the art of try it again. But we begin, I'm gonna lose a rolling nights I will spend with the thought of happy days that would exist if this was all a play. No mistakes can take this pain away. No one on earth is a chance, a prayer and a hope. As life goes on, I'm not harm, but I'm aware. So sit and try to rationalize the crazy things I've done. Keep on wondering how this all begun. You never wonder how it all begun. No, Roboco, I hope you know I'm still in love with you. Roboco, I wish my brain just knew what to do. I love you. Until those feelings start to fade away. And I fade away. Write the dreams and wishes in this song. Got it all right here in a song. So isn't it funny how we realize the crazy things keep coming true? And all I wanna do is talk to you. And all I wanna do is talk to you. And all I wanna do is talk to you. Roboco, I love you. And all I wanna do is talk to you. And all I want. And all I wanna do is talk to you. Roboco. Real is all done, come undone. I cannot find someone to one for one or two is better. Watching birds like fly together, so I sit and try and muster courage for another shot. But I forgot who I forgot how to get. I haven't got running stuck inside a prison that I call a mind. I got no time to try and find a doorway to the other side. There's a screening in between my arms. I've got you safe from harm.
All right, I'm going to leave it there and call it a day. If any donations continue to trickle in for the rest of the day, then I will absolutely forward those along. But it looks like we brought in $140 for Bear Clan. You'll see it says 19 hours to go. It's because Streamlabs is weird. It doesn't let me specify times. So it was either like noon today that it would cut, or I think noon tomorrow. So by noon tomorrow, if there's anything else, I will forward it along to them. I also know that there was at least a couple of donations from Direct Interact e-transfers. So hopefully, one way or the other, I hope that this was helpful for them. And this made me think, as the last song was Roboco, it's like, I think 5 years ago this week that we played a reunion show. We did 2 Fridays in a row. One was in Rafi's parents' backyard, and one was at Distortion. And the one at Rafi's parents' backyard was friends of the family, and both of them, all of the money went to Rafi's cousin Tree, who was going through brain cancer, and we saved. I think we fundraised like $3,000 or something along those lines. Anyways, those have been coming up in my Facebook memories, and just make the old man heart feel warm. And so it's cool to me that just without even thinking about it, that song was the last song of the podcast, and I just thought I'd share that. So thank you, everyone, for supporting and helping. Thank you to Shithead Dave, who is my one patron on Patreon. Thank you to the viewers and the people that interacted and chatted and donated and stuff. It's been fun, and we'll see you next week. I won't be doing a fundraiser next week, but there will be more fundraisers to come. I think they're important and good. So anyways, thank you all very much. Love you.